Hello there folks, Monkey here, aka your Lonely Achievement God, continuing our From 0 to 1000 achievement hunting series for Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. For those of you that are just jumping in, keep in mind this is the spoiler full walkthrough. I am directing us into actions that could potentially spoil some of the story. So if you are not interested in having yourself spoiled, I will be dropping a link in the description of the video to a text walkthrough that is spoiler-free. I already covered why I'm not doing a spoiler-free video walkthrough, but the text walkthrough I'm making will be just as comprehensive as this video walkthrough I'm doing. So I promise you, if you follow any of the different modes or walkthroughs for the game, that you will get your 1000G. Doing so without spoilers may just take you a little bit longer to do so if you want to. So make sure you check that out. If you do not want to be spoiled, don't stick around for the rest of this video. For those of you that are following along, we are just resuming at the beginning of Chapter 1 / the end of the prologue. So go ahead and hold B to start skipping text, and there you go, the intro to Chapter 1 pops up. Going to have a lot of dialogue and things happening here, and we're going to eventually end up in our dorm room. As you can see, we got our handbooks, and it shows our name as soon as it boots up. Mostly, as far as gameplay goes, that's just important because now we can access the map, save and load, settings, presence, stuff like that. We'll look at it once we get control over a character again. The game just doesn't have the same kind of oomph to it when you're skipping through everything and just see the facial and animations, well, the stills of the characters changing so quickly. We get into a little fight, we get punched, and we're going to wake up in our dorm room. As I said, we do have access to our handbook, so we'll cover that right off the bat. By hitting the X button, it opens your handbook. You can access the map. We don't really have a map yet because we haven't been anywhere with it. When we start looking around later on in the game, the evidence that we gather will show up in the truth bullets section here. The presents we get can be looked at here. This is all the stuff that we get. As you can see, the school crest we got for completing the prologue is here. I would say like the first 90 are objects that you find in the Mono machine, and we'll be doing a little intro to that in a little bit here. The rest of them are gifts you get from story progress and school mode progress. So the report cards will show off the profiles for each person and how far along in their friendship you are. We're not going to bother with going through any of them right now, but you can always view them if you'd like. The regulations are the rules that we just got while we were in the cutscene. If you want to look through them, you can, and then you can use the system to save, load, look at dialogue that's happened recently, change options, or quit out of the game should you need to. With that out of the way, we now have control over our character in our dorm room. From this point on, you can now start finding mono coins hidden throughout the areas you visit. There are 20 in each chapter, and they're just kind of randomly strewn throughout the items throughout the school. They're not always in the rooms you're going to visit, and for that reason, we're not really going to focus on them. You only get 1 coin per. There are a couple in items that we're going to be searching throughout the story, and I'll mention those items if I remember to. But honestly, you can get about 60 to 100, depending on what difficulty you're on, in about 10 minutes. So directing you to go to a room to get 1 coin isn't really a good use of our time. So I'm not going to be bothering with the individual mono coin solutions and locations here. So let's go ahead and work our way through. We're going to investigate this drawer on the left of the bed here. Then we're going to look at the key on the table. There's a piece of paper on the wall to the right. You can turn your camera more if you want to get a good angle, but you can interact with it from the default position, I believe. And then we need to interact with the trash can, which we're going to have to move the camera back in order to get to it. And we'll get a mono coin for searching in here. But we also do need to search in there to trigger the advancement of the story. Examine the white/cream colored door to the bathroom. And now turn your camera and examine the brown door, which is the front door of your dorm. That'll trigger the, oh hey, revelation of the story or whatever. And now we're allowed to leave. So go ahead and interact with the brown door again. Sorry about that. Confirm yes. Always confirm yes. And we run straight into the girl. We killed her. That's the end of the game. I'm kidding. She tells you basically to meet in the dining hall. You're going to be going to the dining hall a lot. Sorry about that. Hit Y to bring up the map overlay. As you can see, in the dorm area, the game kind of tells you where everyone's dorms are with the little face icons. For the most part, you can tell which face is which, although if you look to your left here, I don't really think that icon looks like Sayaka at all, but that's just me. Most of the characters are recognizable. There's a trash room to the north, some bathrooms there, a laundry room, a changing room for the bathhouse itself, and the sauna off the back. And then the bottom left we have the fork and spoon room is the dining hall, and the kitchen off of that. And there's a warehouse in the center of the screen at the bottom next to some stairs. I'm not going to do this explanation for every room, but it's a kind of good to get an idea for how the layouts are going to be. I might tell you, oh yeah, go to the fork and spoon room, and that way you can open your map and just go there. So whenever you're ready, head over to the dining hall. And we're going to get another tutorial here on reactions. Reactions are purple bracketed text that pop up. As you can see there, we have purple words in brackets. Excuse me, what you need to do for these is hit Y when they pop up. That'll allow you to select them, and then you can hit the A button to react to them. What sometimes will happen is if you're skipping text with the B button, you can't skip past the react word. So feel free to skip with impunity, but when you have reactions in the conversation, you can't use the B button to skip past them. That's good so that you can skip at will, but when you need to advance in the conversation, you're going to have to do so manually with the A button. So now that we're past that react point, we can use the B button to skip ahead, and we'll see another react point, school life, and interact with that, and that ends the tutorial. That's going to be popping up quite a bit throughout our playthrough here, so get used to it. Before we talk to Sayaka, go ahead and interact with the clock, and then talk to Sayaka. And we're going to have to react to continuing the self-introduction thing. And we'll be kicked out of the conversation and have to talk to her again. And then we're going to have to react to wanted to ask you something. After this conversation, everyone else is going to join us. And we're going to have a lot of dialogue to interact with for Sayaka again. And again, I'm going to echo the same thing that I did in the tutorial. We're going to have a lot of react points. You're going to have to manually skip ahead using the A button to get to the next ones. But once all of this dialogue is over, we'll talk to Sayaka again. And first we'll react to Byakuya. And I'm probably going to mispronounce that. I don't know why. My brain just has kind of a weird thing with that name, Byakuya. So if I mispronounce it, I apologize. We're going to talk to Sayaka again. And this time we're going to interact with Taka. Go ahead and talk to Sayaka again, and this time, when you get to this dialogue, press the A button to move forward, and then you're going to react to Leon, Hiro, Junko, and Chihiro. Talk to Sayaka again. Again, we'll have to manually skip ahead here, and then we can react to Hina, Sakura, and Mondo. And one more time, we're going to have to talk to Sayaka and react to the final grouping, Celeste, Toko, and Hifumi. Once this is over, we'll have to talk to Sayaka once more, but no more reactions. We'll automatically go back to our dorm after this. And they're just kind of setting ground rules that no one should be outside after 7 o'clock at night because it's dangerous. Blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm going to probably interject once in a while with some summary, but I do recommend you actually go through and experience the story. Skipping through it doesn't really do it justice. But anyways, we'll end up in our dorm. Once we get control, select the white/cream bathroom door here. We'll get an important bit of information for later, but we're skipping it so we have no idea what it is. And that'll lead us to the end of the day. You'll always get this little ding-dong, bing-bong, ding-dong, and then a Monokuma scene, and you'll go to sleep. Occasionally you'll get a Monokuma theater. It might be every night, honestly. I'm not entirely sure. These are usually kind of interesting little things where Monokuma talks about human things, but none of it is important to the story, so feel free to skip all of it. You will wake up the next day and automatically go out into the hall, and the game kind of opens up here. Now you'll often see characters out in the hallway, as you can see Taka standing in front of us there. Feel free to chat with them, run around and explore if you want to. I'm going to be specifically pointing you to the next thing you need for the story. So if you want to run around and do whatever you want, feel free. If you really want to explore, feel free to watch my video to see what I do next and then avoid doing that thing until you're ready to advance. For the most part, that should keep you from advancing the plot and missing anything if you want to explore. But for our purposes, we're going to be focusing on the story itself. So to do that, turn around to your left there. You'll see Sayaka's door. Go ahead and interact with it. She'll come out and chat with you, and we'll need to react to favors. So hit Y and then A, and I'm not going to mention the button presses for that anymore. She wants us to, help her get a weapon or something like that to defend herself. And we now have the ability to teleport. For the most part, I'm not going to mention teleporting. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. We're going to try often, but we're not always going to be able to. Sometimes the game will tell you that you can't go to the specific room you need to go to, but you can teleport to the hallway that's outside the specific room right here. Like, we can't go into the trash room, but we can teleport to the point right outside the trash room. That's going to happen quite a bit. For the most part, I'm just going to say we're going to go to this room. Feel free to get there however you want. As I said, I've played this game 7 times. I have the entire layout memorized, but for those of you that are just starting, you may want to, wander around on foot so you get a good idea for where everything is. As I said, for the most part, we're going to try to teleport because it is quicker, but wandering around isn't that much slower than teleporting. So feel free to do whatever you want. We need to go to that trophy room that was before the gym. So we could teleport, but we're going to walk on foot this time. So don't teleport, walk across the floor to the gate over here. That'll bring us to the first portion of the building where we woke up in the classroom and went to the entrance hall. We need to go to that building across from the entrance hall. The room, across from the entrance hall that has a little Y symbol. I'm sure that might be maybe a symbol for yen, I don't know. But it is the school store, and we need to make a pit stop there. So go ahead inside the school store. You don't need to talk to Junko, who is standing in here. But go ahead and interact with this display to get yourself a mana coin. Might as well since we're here. But we're really here to interact with this machine on the right, the mono machine. And we'll do a quick tutorial about what it is here. So go ahead and just say give it a shot. The mono machine is just a capsule machine. You put in a coin, and you can get an item out of it. We're not going to use it now, so don't use it. I'm just kind of giving you a demonstration of it. We put 1 coin in. If we had an item, then our repeat percent would go down with every coin we put in. And as I said, I'll go into this in more detail later on. We are barely going to use this at all for a story playthrough until we are in Chapter 5, I believe. We will come here and put like 5 to 10 coins in to try to get a single item out of it. The rest of it we're going to deal with after the story mode is done. So we're not going to deal with this a lot, but we needed to stop by and interact with it so that we can access it from the main menu of the game and don't have to jump into one of the story chapters in order to use it. So that's the whole reason we stopped by for now. And we'll cover that in much more detail when we come back to it later. But make sure you stop in, interact with it, and then back out. That way we can access it from the main menu of the game. With that done, we're going to continue on to the trophy room. So make your way around the hallway here. And enter the door here. And examine the trophy case to the left here. And go down to the sword on display there. You're going to get a little bit of dialogue, and then we'll back out automatically. Go ahead and talk to Sayaka, and you'll have a react point here, the word dream. So go ahead and react to that, and skip the dialogue. And we'll automatically go back to our dorm room and get introduced to free time. Free time is the aspect of the game that allows you to build friendships with your classmates to fill out their report cards. Doing so will build up your SP, which is necessary for achievements, but will also unlock skills that you can use to make the trials easier. The game makes you spend your first free time session with Sayaka, so what's going to happen is you can view the tutorial if you want. We're not going to. But go ahead and leave your room. And just like we did earlier today, we're going to turn to our left, knock on Sayaka's door. Or ring her doorbell, I suppose. Spend some time with Sayaka. And we're not going to give her a gift, so not really, no. So what happens with free time is, it's more complex than this, but there's a chance that nothing will happen, or a little scene will happen. if nothing happens, you didn't get an increase in friendship. If you get a scene where some dialogue happens, you may have to answer a multiple choice question in these, but you can't get the answer wrong, so don't worry too much. I will give you the correct answer, but it doesn't matter a whole lot. And at the end of these dialogue sequences, you will get some sort of a reward, either an increase to your skill points or a skill itself, which indicates that you got a new page in the character's report card. For our spoiler full playthrough here, the optimal path requires us to not have any free time sessions that don't result in a report card. So, that don't result in a skill point increase or a skill itself. So that's why we have to hang out with the specific classmates I point you to. As I said, doing so can kind of tell you what's going to happen, not specifically, but who's going to be involved in what happens next. So it's not a great idea if you're trying to avoid spoilers. Again, if you are trying to avoid spoilers, get the heck out of here right now, because this is where it starts to kind of tell you what's going to happen next. For now, though, just hit not really no, and we'll get a little scene here. If we wouldn't have gotten anything there if we wouldn't have been getting a report card. It would have just immediately sent us back to our dorm room. So what we need to do here is choose Crane. You can choose the other two and see the dialogue, and the game will just bring you back to the choice with whatever wrong choice you had made with, I believe, a check mark next to it, so you know you've already picked it. And you can continue until you pick the correct answer. So I don't think that really affects everything, but I will provide you the answers. And after some more text, we will get a report card entry and I believe a skill from her. We'll go back to our room and we're gonna go to bed for the night. And the next day starts with multiple free time sessions. So again, this is kind of the last point of avoiding spoilers. If you are trying to avoid spoilers, do not continue any further, because the direction I am about to give you will let you have a decent idea of what's going to happen in at least this chapter. So, when you wake up, you'll automatically be given free time. And we need to find Leon. So Leon is in the hallway on the dorm floor. So go ahead and leave your dorm. And he's over by the gate that led to the school store. So just run straight this direction and find Leon. Interact with him. We're going to spend some time with Leon, and we're not going to give him a gift. And then we'll get another bit of dialogue and a report card entry and a skill, I believe. We'll return to our room and get another free time session, and this time we're going to find Junko. Junko is in the laundry room on the dorm floor, so again, you can teleport over there if you want, but it's almost just as fast to walk straight to the laundry room here. And there she is. We're going to go ahead and interact with her. Spend some time with Junko. And don't give her a present. And we're going to have to pick Hang Out when the dialogue option appears. So choose Hang Out. And this should unlock your second achievement, Skilling 'em Softly for 10G for clearing the 10 skill point threshold. There it is. And that'll bring us to the end of the day, and we'll move on to the next one. Again, feel free to save every couple of days if you want to, just so that you don't lose any progress should your game crash, but generally the game performs pretty well. When you wake up, I think someone rings your doorbell or knocks. I can't remember. There we go, doorbell. So turn to face the front door and interact with it. And Taka will stop by, and we're going to chat with Taka. He's going to try to get everyone to meet up in the dining hall every morning. Once he's gone, go ahead and leave your dorm by interacting with the front door. I'm going to keep doing that. Sorry about that. And now we need to go to the dining hall, so just run straight forward and to the left here to get to it. Once we get inside, we're going to chat with Taka. Some dialogue will occur, and we'll have a reaction point when Chihiro talks about a certain murderous fiend. So go ahead and react there. And after some more dialogue, we will spawn outside of the dining hall. Basically, Monokuma is trying to provide a motive for murder here. Sayaka comes with us. Immediately turn to the right, head toward the gate here, and go through. And we need to go to the AV room, so go straight and slightly to the right, and when you get to the green hall, enter the door on the left here, which is the AV room. We are going to interact with the cardboard box here to find a DVD with our name on it. And then interact with the console here. And we'll start watching our DVD. Sayaka runs off and we need to go find her, so just press B to leave the room. And she's actually not gone very far. Open up your map overlay and we need to go into that first classroom to our north. It's actually the one we woke up in. So go ahead and interact with the door and we'll find her standing creepily inside here. And go ahead and interact with her. After some dialogue, we're going to be back in our room. Another person using our doorbell. So go ahead and interact with your front door. And then talk to Sayaka. We'll have an interact point here, something really weird. And eventually, we're going to switch rooms, so we get to go to her room and she stays in ours. So we enter her room, which is rather bare, and all we're going to do is examine the trash can, like a good friend would. That's not creepy at all. And then we need to examine the drawer to the left of the bed, also kind of creepy. And then finally examine the bathroom. With that done, we fall asleep on her bed for the night. We're going to wake up and we'll head over to the dining hall. And we've gone back to our dorm room. Things look a little different than we left it. Go ahead and interact with our open bathroom door to get, well, a bit of a shock. Someone splattered pink paint all over her. A lot of dialogue's gonna happen. And eventually we'll end up back in our room, but we got a little bit to go through here first. So someone's been murdered, as you saw, and we're going to have time now to investigate. Don't worry, it's not an actual timer. It won't, move you on to the next portion until you've gotten all the clues you need to. So we're just going to be investigating. Follow along with me, and you'll hit all the points you need to. The idea is that someone was murdered, so if the murderer is not caught, everyone else dies, the murderer goes free. But if we're right, the murderer gets murdered, and everyone else gets to continue living. And crap. Well, someone else just died. What if Junko is the one who killed Sayaka? Boy, that would have just ruined the entire thing. So I do apologize. I said we were going to go back to the dorm room, but I'm pretty sure we actually just stay here. But this now should trigger the investigation portion of the chapter. So go ahead and talk to Kyoko here. and then investigate Junko's body. Now I'll go ahead and talk to Celeste. And after a bit of dialogue, just about everyone's going to leave the room. So go ahead and press B to leave the gym. We'll end up in the trophy room. And go ahead and press B again to leave the trophy room. And we're going to automatically go back to our dorm room. Go ahead and first investigate the drawer on the left side of the bed. Investigate the lint roller down here. Examine the sword here. Examine the room key on the ground to the right. Examine the scratches in between the two Sakura and Mondo here on the floor. You can use Y to show the exact point too if you're having trouble finding that point. And then examine the sheath on the ground behind the scratches. Go ahead and talk to Mondo here. Now move the camera and talk to Kyoko, who's kind of hiding behind Mondo. Just make sure if you highlight Kyoko the wrong way, you actually interact with the door. Just make sure that, you know, the interaction point says Kyoko when you interact with her. And you're going to have a react point in her conversation of very unusual. So, react to that. And this time, make sure you interact with the bathroom door. First things first, examine her body. And then examine the letters to the right of her body there. Go ahead and exit the room. And interact with bloody numbers. Go ahead and interact with your bathroom door. And with that done, we've basically explored our dorm room. So go ahead and angle the camera to go out your front door. We're going to use the map to go to the trash room up way north here. So go ahead and run up there. And examine the grate in front of you. Back out of the trash room. We need to go back toward our room. We actually need to interact with Sayaka's room, but Sayaka's room has our nameplate on it. And if you walk over here, our room has Sayaka's nameplate on it. So go ahead and interact with the Makoto door, or Sayaka's room. Now go interact with the Sayaka door, which is Makoto's room. And now go back to the Makoto door, which is Sayaka's room, to go inside. It's a bit confusing, but just follow the same order I did there. Again, we're going to examine her trash like a good creeper would. And we're going to leave her room. Turn to your left, and we're going to talk to Hifumi here, who is in charge of trash. And he will automatically take us to the trash room. Hifumi will open the gate, and we can examine the incinerator back here. So first things first, examine the glass shards. Next, examine the bloody scrap down here. And finally, examine the open incinerator. With this done, we're going to back out of the garbage room, and we need to run to the dining room. So go ahead and run straight across. You can use the map if you don't know the way. But we're going to head into here, and Asahina Aoi will be here. So go ahead and talk to her. Go into the door back here to head back into the kitchen. And you'll see a row of knives on the wall to our right. Go ahead and examine them. Then back out. And we're going to talk to Aoi again. I should probably just say Hina, because I'm more positive I'm saying that properly than Aoi. Okay, now we need to return all the way to the gym. So I'm going to teleport. But you can go on foot if you'd like. And then we're going to talk to Yasuhiro. And now we need to go to the AV room. So once again, if you want to, you can use the map and teleport there. Or you can walk on foot if you want to. Excuse me. Now interact with the console. And we get to watch Sayaka's DVD. And this is the end of our investigation. We will automatically placed outside the red door you may have noticed in the hallway where the school store and AV room happens to be. We didn't go near that. And just walk forward and interact with it to be brought to an elevator. Despite the fact that we were right next to it, apparently everyone else beat us here somehow. Go figure. We'll have some dialogue here. One of us is apparently a murderer, and we need to figure that out. So what happens here is we're going to interact with the elevator grate, or gate, in order to go on the elevator and head down into the courtroom, I guess, for the trial. And we have a little bit that we need to cover here before we jump into the trial, so bear with me. Bear, get it? Because Monokuma? Sorry. So we're going to go ahead and save. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the introduction and explanation of the trials here. Class trials are lengthy sequences involving a back and forth between the classmates. The evidence we've collected from our investigation will be used to counter statements made by the other students. During these sequences are a variety of minigames and a manga comic closing argument. And if you need to, my website does have a separate resource for the manga comic closing arguments with pictures for what you need to use if you want to do that too. It is available through the spoiler-free and spoiler-full walkthroughs on my website. So we're going to use this trial, and this is the reason we're stopping here, to knock out 3 of the miscellaneous achievements, namely Not From Concentrate, What's a Mistrial, and You Must Acquit. The Not From Concentrate requires us not to use the Concentrate skill, which means we can't use the RB button, the right bumper, at all throughout this trial. So do not press it at all, and you'll be fine. The What's a Mistrial achievement is for completing a trial without failing and having to retry. I'm going to be giving you all the answers, so that's not really a concern. And You Must Acquit is for doing this without taking any damage. Now, that one's the really difficult one. If you fire at the wrong statements, you use the wrong truth bullets, you shoot the wrong letters in minigames, you take damage. Due to this, I recommend making saves regularly, and I mean regularly, and then making a save in a new save file every 5 saves or so. That way, if you know you screwed up somewhere, you can just reload your previous save and it won't require you to play through the entire trial again. This is going to be very tedious. It's going to take us a little bit longer than most of the trials will, but I guarantee you it's worth it so you don't have to keep retrying the trial later on. And because we're on easy, it's going to be rather simple. There's not really too much to this on easy. The game on easy is designed for you to experience the story without having to worry about a difficulty. So what we need to do is go down to set skills, and because we've hung out with Sayaka and Leon, we have 2 skills that we want to equip. The Robot Jock will make our bullets travel faster, which is actually a very useful skill. And if we go further down, we can equip Melodious Voice, which will increase damage during the bullet time battles, which is also very important. And we'll cover the bullet time battles once we get to them. So with those 2 skills equipped, go ahead and open your e-handbook and save again over that spot. And now we're ready to start. This is going to take a while because I'm going to have to stop and explain some things as we go through together. So when you're ready, go ahead and hit Finish Preparations. The trials consist of multiple parts. Most of them revolve around a back and forth where, Monokuma and the students are talking about things, and we need to have fire truth bullets at golden statements to counter them when we think that the bullet can counter the statement. There are multiple choice questions we'll need to ask. We'll need to select a certain piece of evidence to solve a riddle or, answer a question, excuse me. And sometimes we just need to scroll right or left to select one of our classmates. The mini-games involve a hangman-like mini-game where you have to, fill in letters in a word by shooting the letters out of the sky. We'll cover that. We have the manga/comic closing statement where you arrange an order of events. And finally, there is a rhythm-like game, which is a final showdown. And again, very simple on easy. We'll cover it when we get to it. You can pause the game regularly, and you can also save at any point where the text is like this. you can, open up your system, go to save, and save. I recommend doing this, and you're going to see me do this as we go through the trial, basically after every statement we choose, just to be sure. Again, it is much better to spend an extra 3 to 5 minutes saving and being thorough here than having to replay the trial for another 10 to 15 later on. So, also, one thing that doesn't really relate to the going through the achievements, I recommend kind of messing with the voice volume and the game volume itself, because in the trial specifically, the voice actors can kind of get drowned out by everything else if you are interested in what is going on. So, might want to change those settings if you are interested in hearing what is going on. So the first part of the trial is rapid fire discussion, and it's broken up into sequences, usually between 5 to 20 statements, and you can tell how long the statement is. In the upper right hand corner, it'll tell you how many capsules there are. So we're going to jump forward here. So we're not going to take the tutorial. Feel free to read it if you want. But this is our first non-stop debate. So we get our truth bullet, which is evidence of a struggle, and we need to fire that at one of the golden statements our classmates make to counter it, basically. You can see up at the top of the screen we have a time limit, we have our hearts and our concentrate bar. We can't use the concentrate bar, so don't worry about the stars. But the hearts will indicate if you have taken damage, so keep an eye on that regularly. And on the right side there we have our capsules with one of them flashing gold. It'll flash gold to indicate what statement in the sequence you are currently on. If you don't do anything, you get to the end of the sequence, Makoto will say something, and then the entire sequence will start over. This doesn't cause you any damage, so don't worry about it happening. In fact, if you're really worried, feel free to take your time. It may affect your overall rating at the end, but the rating doesn't mean anything. We just want to avoid using concentrate and taking damage. So, we need to wait until Chihiro says, didn't even have a chance to resist, and we're going to aim over top of it and press Y to fire our truth bullet at it. And that will counter the statement. Once you do that, hit X and go to save. Make sure you don't save over the pre-trial prep slot. That way, if something does go wrong, you can reload the beginning of the trial save and start fresh. With that out of the way, that's most of the tutorial stuff to start, so we're just going to start skipping through the dialogue. Our next truth bullet is going to be, we need to fire kitchen knife set when Mondo says some random knife. So kitchen knife set is going to be chosen automatically, and we just need to wait for Mondo to say some random knife. You can use the B button to skip dialogue, but be cautious of that. The timing gets a little weird. So you saw some random knife popped up. We aimed at it and pressed Y to fire our truth bullet. And we're moving on to the next sequence. We get the text right away, so we're going to go ahead and save again. And I know this is tedious, but I promise you it is worth it to not have to replay the entire trial. And this is how we're going to go through it. You're going to get another tutorial about the concentration skill. Feel free to read it if you want to. But again, we can't use that during this trial, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot to us. Another non-stop debate. We need to fire Aoi's account, which is the only one we have, when Toko says, when nobody was in the dining hall. So go ahead and fire using the Y button and the reticle at that statement to continue on through the trial. And we've done a couple of non-stop debates now. Our next answer is going to be a multiple choice answer. You'll usually have between 2 and 4 answers to pick from, and in this case the game kind of tells you what the answer is, but I'll be telling you the answer for the rest of them. So the multiple choice answer is going to be Sayaka. And once you choose that, once again, Makoto will talk and we are going to save. This is a very important save, so make sure you save. We have our first Hangman's Gambit minigame coming up. The Hangman's Gambit is, as I said, it's basically Hangman. You're going to have a word, you're going to have to fill in the word, the missing blanks in the word by shooting letters out of the sky. The letters will kind of do circular motions or straight ahead, or it's not too difficult, especially on easy. You just have to make sure you only shoot at the letters you need. On easy, you're only going to have 1 letter to fill in. On hard, you might have 3 because we have a 4-letter word. So to start, these Hangman's Gambits only show up once per trial. And this is the first portion that you're likely to take damage, which is why I made a special note of the save here. So we're going to get a hangman puzzle. In this case, the word is hair. And so we're going to have 4 spaces. The letters will fill in automatically, and depending on what difficulty you are on, you might get 1 letter filled in, you might get 3 letters filled in, and you'll have to fill in the blanks. So I'm going to tell you what the word is, that way you'll know what you have to fill in, and I will say the word or letters out loud so that you know if you do have problems with spelling, don't worry, I'm here to help. The letters will appear in different colors. Red only requires 1 hit, orange requires 2, yellow requires 3, and green requires 4 shots. You probably won't see the green or even the yellow on easy difficulty, so that's a relief because those can be a little difficult. So let's go ahead and continue on, get to the puzzle, and you'll see what I mean. You can take the tutorial if you want to, but I've basically explained everything you need to know. You're going to move the cursor around and fire with A at the letter you need to fill in. So as you can see, we got the H, the I, and the R, so we need to shoot an A, and we're going to shoot it twice, and it enters into the word and finishes off the minigame. So what we're going to do is, once we get to the text, once again, we're going to save, this time in a new slot. That way, if there was, some indication that you failed at the Hangman's Gambit and took damage, you can just reload the Hangman's Gambit without any issue. We're now going to have another multiple choice question, except you have to choose a piece of evidence to respond with. For this one, we need bathroom door knob. Be careful because there is door frame. We need bathroom door knob. So hit Y when you have that selected. And again, once Makoto starts talking, go into your system settings and save over your previous save. We're going to get another tutorial here where the game says there's going to be more than 1 statement that you can shoot at. If you want to read the tutorial, feel free to, but on easy, you don't have all that much of a concern, especially with me giving you the answers. We need to fire bathroom door frame when Leon says, locked it, excuse me. I do tend to use the B button to skip little bits at a time, but I don't use it for very long. Once we get to the person, then I slow down, and we're going to fire right at that statement, and that will move us along. Again, once Makoto starts talking, go into your system settings and save over your file, and skip ahead. We have another multiple choice answer coming here. We need to choose the crime took place in my room. Saving isn't all that important on these individual answers. It's usually the mini games that are going to cause you trouble, but to be safe, we're going to save after every single answer. And now we have to choose evidence again. We're going to go down to switching rooms and hit Y to present it. And once Makoto starts to talk, we will save again. I know, I apologize. We're saving a lot, but I'd rather be thorough. I'm going to have another non-stop debate coming up here. And we need to fire dorm nameplates. When Celeste says the room that Makoto was staying in. So fire at that statement once it starts to go across. And once Makoto talks, go ahead and save again. We're going to skip ahead. We'll have another multiple choice answer and pick Sayaka. Once again, once he starts to talk, feel free to save. In fact, I highly recommend you do. I promise the rest of the trials we don't have to do this as long as you get all of your miscellaneous achievements at the end here. And we're going to have one more evidence select here. It is Sayaka's wrist. So just scroll down to Sayaka's wrist and press Y to present it. Once Makoto starts to talk, we're going to save again. And we'll make a new save slot this time. We're going to get another tutorial here where we have more than one truth bullet to choose from. You don't have to worry about this too much on easy, but if you do have to switch bullets, use the left bumper to do so. Again, if you want to read the tutorial, feel free. Otherwise, we're just going to jump in. We need to fire replica sword sheath. So make sure replica sword sheath is selected. So hit the left bumper until replica sword sheath is down there. And then when Yasuhiro says a sword-based sneak attack, we need to fire at it. So press Y and fire at it. And of course, when Makoto starts to talk, go ahead and save. Sorry folks, I'm popping in because I actually don't say the next clue out loud, I just select it. So I did want to apologize. The next clue is her palms. Is the next answer you need to pick for the multiple choice answer. I do it, but I don't say it out loud, and I wanted to make sure that I did say it out loud. We're going to have a multiple choice answer up here. We're going to have 3 of them, so I'm actually not going to save here because these are very easy. Now choose the water was off. And finally choose Sayaka, and when Makoto starts to talk, we're going to save once more. We'll get another non-stop debate. We only have the 1 bullet, dying message, and when Leon says just aren't any more clues, we're going to fire at that. And our next answer is the multiple choice, left index finger, so we're not going to bother saving there, but once Makoto starts to talk here, go ahead and save in a new slot here. Once you back off, we have a little bit of a new section. We just need to scroll and select a classmate. Quickest way to get to the classmate we'd need is to scroll to the left and highlight Leon. Press A to select him. Once he starts to talk, go ahead and save over your save file. We do have to select a piece of evidence next, and that is the burnt shirt piece. So actually hit up, and then hit up once more to get there, and press Y. We're not going to save after this one. We have another multiple choice answer next. How it was disposed of. So, how it was disposed of. And once you pick that, we're going to save again. We got one more non-stop debate. We're going to fire the Shattered Crystal Ball bullet, which is the only one we have on easy here. When Leon says you'd have to get close to the incinerator. So fire the bullet there. And we're not going to save here because we have two multiple choice answers coming up. Throw it is the first one. And then we're going to be saving immediately after the next one. The next answer is going to be the ultimate baseball star. So choose that. And once he starts talking, immediately save again. Because we're going to go into the closing argument next. The closing argument, if you want to take the tutorial, feel free to go ahead and do so. It is a manga style, or comic book, if you're from the Western area. And as you can see, it scrolls right to left, showing the timeline of events from the murder. At the bottom of the screen there, as you can see as we scroll through, we have these question mark circles and blank panels that we're going to have to fill in using the circles at the bottom of the screen. On easy, all of the circles at the bottom of the screen are used. If you're on harder difficulties, there will be dummy circles. So just pay attention to the ones you're using. If you're trying to go through the trial without taking any damage, you have to make sure you do this perfectly, which is why we saved prior to coming in here. So we're going to take this one step at a time. If you're following along with my text guides, obviously we're reading right to left. So the number 1 panel is the first one from the right, and then number 2 is over here, yada yada yada. So the first panel is the icon of a shadowy figure going to Sayaka's door, which is this one. So we'll go ahead and drag it over there. We'll move on to number 2, which is the shadowy figure facing Sayaka with the sword behind them. And that is this icon here. So we're going to drag that over there and move on to panel 3, which is the sheath blocking the knife. So this panel here needs to go there. We'll move on to panel 4, which is Sayaka in the background with the sword glinting in the foreground. This one here. So go ahead and put that one in its spot and move on to the next one. The 5th panel is the screwdriver being held up to the doorknob. So that would be this panel here. So go ahead and drop it in. Move on to the next one. The 6th one is the finger writing the name. So go ahead and grab that and drop it in, and we'll move to the next panel, number 7, which is the lint roller being held, this one down here. So go ahead and put it in place. Number 8 is the crystal ball, which is right here. Number 9 is a balled up shirt flying toward the incinerator, which is this one here. And we only have one left on easy, which is the charred shirt piece on the floor. So go ahead and place it and then hit Y to reenact. If you do miss one of these, the game will stop and you'll have to replace anything after that sequence. So if you missed panel 4, I believe panel 4 and everything after will be either blank or not set properly, and you'll have to replace them. Of course, if you did mess something up, you're going to have to reload the save that we made prior to this so that you can try it again without taking any damage. And just so you're aware, I am following my own walkthrough to record this video, so just about everything I've mentioned is from my own text and resources from my website walkthroughs. So if you are unclear about anything, feel free to check out the links to my website in the description, and you can, or reach out to me on here too if you have any questions. I'll happily answer them. So when we get to the end, you're going to get a massive complete message, and then Makoto is going to say, "It would appear that Hiro simply forgot his crystal ball in the laundry room." And we're going to save at that because we have our next, final mini-game that could cause you to take some damage. And it is very important that you save here again, because this next mini-game, especially on higher difficulties, is very easy to take damage in. There's the complete, and Makoto will start to talk. So I'm going to save here. Again, we're going to save in a new slot. I know we're using up a lot of slots, but don't worry, we won't be doing that anymore once we get the achievements. We now have the final section of the trial. It's not always going to be this bullet time rhythm mini game, but in this case it is. It's basically a rhythm game where you need to button press in order to highlight statements the other person is making. You use the A button to highlight the statements, and then you press the Y button to shoot the statements and delete them. On harder difficulties, you're eventually going to have bullets that you have to reload and all that, but on easy, it's very, very simple. All you're going to be doing is alternating the A button and the Y button in time for 95% of these, and you'll be able to pass them without problem. So what we're going to be doing on easy is just, again, you're going to be pressing your buttons in time, the A button and the Y button alternating each press. So press A, then press Y, press A, press Y, over and over and over again, eventually until you win. Once you do win, a yellow statement will show up on the screen, and then you'll just press the Y button to fire the bullet into the statement, and that will end your challenge. On the harder difficulties, your first one here isn't going to be too much different, to be honest. It's rather simple. You may have to press A few more times to highlight more statements than just one at a time, but you shouldn't have too much of an issue with it on this first trial. Just make sure you save first, as I just showed you to do. That way, if you do screw it up, you have the save, you can reload and try again. And again, if you just want to, jump in and start playing with it, and you can reload the save. So you can read the tutorial if you want, but otherwise, go ahead and jump in. Hello there, folks. Popping in again real quick because I forgot to mention something about the bullet time battles, and I just kind of skip over it here. So at the end of them, you are supposed to fire a truth bullet at a golden statement that pops up. You do so with the Y button. On these first couple of trials, the bullet is going to be picked automatically, so all you have to do is press the Y button, but don't dilly-dally with these. If you do miss, it does fail the entire minigame, I think. At worst, you will take damage and you'll have to reload a previous save. So keep an eye on that. For this first one, even on the harder difficulties, all you need to do is press Y once the golden statement pops up, and it'll automatically fire the bullet. You don't have to aim for these. For later trials, you will eventually have to pick what the bullet is, but for now, don't worry about that. Just once you get to the end of the bullet time battle, the overlay will go away. There will be the person standing there, and a gold statement will pop up, and you just have to hit the Y button to fire the truth bullet. And I apologize for not explaining that on the first run, so just keep that in mind as you go through this. Try to pay attention to the white dots, but the white dots don't really line up that well. So as you can see, I'm just alternating pressing the A button and the Y button. Eventually the tempo will increase, and we need to follow along with the tempo. And on easy, this is all you really need to do for most of these. Press A, Y over and over again. There is a lot more to it if you're on the harder difficulties. But as you can see, I'm not really keeping time, but I was still hitting everything. It's kind of, I don't know, I hesitate to call it a rhythm minigame, because I don't feel like I was really doing the presses in rhythm, but I was still doing them. So it can be a bit tricky, I'm not going to lie. That's why we save beforehand. You can go back and replay if you need to. As long as none of the statements exploded on you, you don't take damage. The tempo can fall flat, and go back down to slower, and you're fine. It's only when the statements explode. So if you're missing presses, the tempo may slow down. That's okay. It's only if the statements that the person, Leon there, is making, if they get too big and explode, that will cause you damage and you'll need to restart. So just do your best. Again, we made the save so that if you do have trouble with it, you can just reload the save and try again until you get it right. Once you get it done, we'll just skip ahead. You're basically done now. That was the last part of the trial. And you will get ranked, but the ranking doesn't really mean anything as far as achievements go. You can get 100 points per sequence. Sorry, I started skipping there. As you can see, we got a perfect on every sequence. So we're going to get 65 coins, I believe. 64, not bad. On my mean difficulty, which is the hard difficulty playthrough, I actually got 995 points, but got 99 mono coins. Which is why I mentioned at the beginning, might not be a bad idea to start on the, harder difficulty. It will save you grinding. However you want to do it, but I am providing you, the information about the differences in difficulty here for later on, in case you want to grind on the harder difficulty later. You get an idea for what you might be in for. So once you get that, you can just press A to advance past the screen, and we got some things to skip. We also should unlock the 3 miscellaneous achievements here. We got You Must Acquit. These can unlock in different orders too. So we got Not From Concentrate. And we got What's a Mistrial. Again, if any of those do not unlock, you have to reload an earlier save. If you have an idea of where you screwed up, you can try to load a specific save before that point. Or if you can't figure it out, you may just have to reload the pre-trial prep slot and start the whole trial over, following along with me again. And the remaining trials are way easier. We don't have to save. We don't have to worry about being perfect, blah, 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 blah. We can just go ahead and, have at it. So this one is kind of the longest of the videos, more than likely because of how much we have to stop and start, how often I'm explaining what we were doing, that kind of stuff. Another cutscene, we're going to skip it. Feel free to watch it if you want, because it's the end of Leon. And just like the prologue video, I'm going to save at the end of the chapter when it prompts you, and that will be where we pick up the chapter 2 portion of our playthrough. And there's the end of chapter 1. We'll get a present here, get a little update on how many students are left. And you can save. That should be another achievement for completing the first chapter. And we're just going to do a quick achievement check for those of you that have been following along. You should be at 6 of 38 for 120G. Go ahead and save. Feel free to save over your last slot here. If you have the achievements from the previous trial, if you don't have those achievements, save in a different slot so that if you need to reload that save before the bullet time battle, that you have that opportunity. So if you have to reload, do that and come back to this point. But we're gonna finish off the video here. That's the end of chapter 1 of our spoiler full slash optimal path playthrough of Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. The next portions will be a little bit shorter. I won't have to be explaining everything we do at every step of the way, so it should be significantly less time for the remaining chapters of the game. As always, if you have any questions or comments for me, reach out to me and I'll do my best to answer them. But if not, I will see you guys next time.